all seen these scenarios play out. You're mid-sentence about to jump onto another joke and fail to realize the vibe in the room until the last second. Your friend is looking at the clock on the wall with a forced smile. You just missed about 3 different hints that it was about time to change the topic. Unfortunately, when someone with ADHD misses a supposedly obvious social cue, it gets labeled as cluelessness or rudeness. But neuroscience tells a bit of a different story. It's not the person not caring or a personality flaw, but instead a 300 millisecond lag in a particular brain pathway. Welcome to the frontostriatal network, where it essentially acts as a bridge connecting the reward center in your brain to the executive filter. In a neurotypical brain, these two are in a good rhythm of constantly texting one another. They know how to update each other on ways to act based on expressions, tone, and body language of the people around you. But research shows that in ADHD, this network undergoes what scientists like to call maturational dysregulation. This is a big phrase, so let me break it down. It means the highway is essentially always under construction. This leads to a huge mismatch. The reward center is blasting, "This is great, keep going, they're loving your conversation skills, girl," while the executive filter is struggling to process the fact that your friends actually don't care about this topic anymore and would much prefer to switch to something else. Today, I'm going to break down the actual science behind why the ADHD brain so often misses these social cues, how it shapes our social lives, and how we can make some improvements to sort of speed up the construction. To understand why this lag even occurs, we need to look at how the frontostriatal network works. Okay, this title is a bit of a mouthful, but in front and center maturational dysregulation of frontal lobe functional neuroanatomic connections in attention deficient hyperactivity disorder by Leisman and Melillo, they highlight a concept called maturational dysregulation. In the paper, we see that the different parts of the ADHD brain develop on slightly different timelines. The basal ganglia, which is known to be mainly responsible for raw impulses and seeking rewards, is fully online and runs 100 miles an hour. In comparison, the frontal lobe connections that are supposed to filter out and pace these impulses consistently run behind. An example would be a sports car with a really good one for engine, but faulty brakes. This mismatch in performance completely changes how people process social feedback. In a 2016 study run by Dr. Catherine Humphreys and her team, we see the researchers tracking children over 2 years and putting them through a dynamic social decision-making task. The purpose of this task was to see how fast a brain notices when a social cue changes. Specifically, when someone's affective or emotional cues shift from positive to negative. The study revealed that individuals with ADHD had a significantly harder time using those changing emotional cues to update their behavior in real time. In psychology, this phenomenon can be referred to as a breakdown in reversal learning. This is the inability to stop an action when the environment tells you the reward is gone. But it does get a bit more complicated. Social cues aren't just, a single frown. That was an awful frown. But it also includes reading body language, listening to someone's voice and the tone of it, and tracking the words being said simultaneously. A 2023 study ran by Dr. Ramona Cardillo investigated exactly how this plays out. The study tested how children with ADHD receive social signals across different formats: audio, video, or combined multimodal signals. Individuals with ADHD didn't just struggle across the board like what you would naturally expect. Instead, their performance dropped significantly when things became multimodal, so when things included both audio and visual. Meaning that their performance declined when they had to integrate both video and audio at the same time. When a social situation gets a bit chaotic, it overwhelms the undeveloped executive filter with a mass volume of inputs. Their brain's attention and theory of mind network, which is how you visualize stepping into someone else's, shoes, goes through an information overload. So when someone misses a cue, it isn't because they're being rude or oblivious, because their brain is working overtime to simply piece the audio and video tracks of the interaction together. Let's see how this plays out with these two friends. Meet Samantha. Samantha's having a great time sharing about her latest fixation, and across her is her friend Zoe. Now notice Zoe's body language, the phone glance, the sigh. To a neurotypical observer, Zoe is screaming, "Hey, I'm bored! Let's move on!" But let's jump inside Samantha's brain and see what exactly is going on. Remember when I talked about Dr. Cadillo's study on multimodal processing? Well, Zoe didn't just drop one single hint, but dropped both a visual, hence the phone, and audio, the sigh, hint at the same time. Samantha's sensory cortex captures both inputs perfectly. Their eyes see it, her ears hear it. She isn't blind, it's just hard to process. The problem is the transit time. Inside Samantha's basal ganglia, the reward center is firing on all cylinders. It acts as an active go signal that pumps out dopamine. To stop or pivot, the prefrontal cortex needs to quickly download Zoe's multimodal cues, process that the social environment has changed, and send an emergency brake signal back down to the striatum. But because of the maturation dysregulation, the data packets are stuck in an information traffic jam. This causes a lag for the attention and theory of mind networks. By the time Samantha's executive filter finally processes Zoe's discomfort and calculates the reverse of learning value change, 3 whole minutes have passed. Samantha keeps going on about her tangent, and Zoe is no longer distracted, but completely annoyed. When this happens repeatedly, it gets labeled as a behavioral choice. Some people might assume that Samantha is intentionally being obnoxious or trying to dominate the conversation. But in reality, Samantha was just driving a car a bit too fast with brakes a bit too slow, and the way of that delay turns into a complete social crash.
This clip is just showcasing like a way to alleviate the social crash. So as you see, she has like a hand signal that lets Samantha know to calm down, stop, give the other person space.
Okay, so basically the internal brake line between your reward center and your filter has a bit of lag. If you have ADHD, trying to just willpower your way into noticing cues faster doesn't really work. You can't force a circuit to transmit data it hasn't downloaded yet. Instead, we want to look at this like a hardware problem. If your internal sensors are glitching, you don't give up. You install something we can call external peripherals. You build manual overrides into your environment. The first sensor is a time box for your reward center. Because this striatum gets stuck on dopamine while you're talking, you use technology to force an executive check-in. Set a smartwatch or silent phone timer to give a subtle haptic pulse every 5 minutes during social gathering. When that buzz hits your wrist, it bypasses the frontostriatal loop entirely by sending a direct physical signal to your sensory cortex. It acts as a mechanical reminder to stop, look around, and actively scan the room for the multimodal cues your brain might be ignoring. The second sensor is outsourcing the filter to your support system. Remember Dr. Humphrey's study proved that the ADHD brain struggles with reversal learning. It doesn't register when the social value of a situation goes from positive to negative. So, ask a trusted friend or literally anyone to use a social safe word or a distinct physical gesture when a conversation needs to pivot. You are telling them, hey, my internal hardware misses some hints, so please give me some type of signal or sign so that I know when to stop talking. It takes the guesswork out of the whole interaction. Finally, practice building physical friction, like the one breath rule. Before you reply or jump into a new story or a new topic, force yourself to completely exhale. This creates a mandatory biological speed bump. It gives those slower, underdeveloped prefrontal connections the crucial extra seconds they need to catch up, process the environment, and tell the giant engine in your striatum where it's actually clear to go. At the end of the day, understanding the frontostriatal network matters because it completely changes conversation around ADHD. When we look at the science, whether it's the delayed reversal learning studied by Dr. Humphreys or the multimodal processing bottlenecks shown by Dr. Cadillo, one thing becomes absolutely clear. Missing a social cue is not a moral failing. It's not laziness, it's not selfishness, it's not rude, and it's definitely not a lack of empathy. It is an asynchronous brain system trying its best to navigate a fast-paced, multi-layered world with temporary communication lag. If you have ADHD and you felt the intense shame of the social glitch, I hope this gives you permission to put that shame down. Your brain isn't broken. It's just running on different operating system that requires external peripherals instead of relying entirely on internal hardware. And if you're neurotypical, the next time a friend or a partner misses a hint, remember that your executive filter might just be putting on a download. Instead of getting frustrated, drop a high contrast signal. Help them bridge the gap. Let me know if this video helps you understand more about ADHD and this video was able to just, develop more of an interest in neuroscience. Thank you. Bye.